So what is poppin', everyone? You all read the title video, so let's get into this. So today we're gonna read a book I have not read in a very, very, very long time. In years. I don't remember when I got this book, but it must have been a few years ago, and I haven't read it since. I'm randomly on page 22, so we're just gonna read where I left off. I was devastated, Joan concluded. I never realized the negative effect my help was having on people. I love my family and friends. My husband always tells me I do too much for everyone. Now and then I realize that one of my kids or friends seems to get angry or annoyed with me, but I never understood why. I used to think it was because I wasn't doing enough to be helpful and supportive, or that maybe I was just being too honest with my opinion. Now it seems like all my efforts have backfired. I feel so terrible about myself. I can hardly get out of bed. Joan turned the corner in her therapy when she understood that her intentions were good, but her methods were flawed. She also recognized that her should rules came from her own mother, who she admitted created similar feelings of inadequacy and resentment among Joan and her sisters, and her continual string of maternal, helpful advice and constructive criticism. When Joan concluded therapy, she remarked, "Even though it was very painful, I think my family may have given me the best Christmas present of all that night. They let me know how I was ramming my rules down everyone's throats, and that's the last thing I want to do to the people I love." You may share Joan's intention to be supportive to friends and loved ones when they have problems, but the unintended effect of imposing your shoulds on others may be to frustrate and irritate them by making them feel like they are doing things poorly because it's not your way. You may also be pushing solutions or jumping prematurely to the fix when others simply need you to be a sympathetic listener. Often the most effective support is to be a good sounding board, reflecting back what you hear and creating a safe context for your friends and family members to think and work through problems at their own pace and direction. The power of accurate thinking. In addition to the strict and inappropriate commands they contain, the 10 Commandments of people-pleasing and the 7 deadly shoulds include other elements of erroneous thinking that contribute to negative feelings. Should statements contain exaggerated language such as always, never, everyone, that make fulfilling the unrealistic commands even more difficult and unlikely. Absolute words and exaggerated language are indicative of distorted thinking, and distorted thinking plays an important causal role in the creation of depression, anxiety, and other negative mood states. While feelings are neither right nor wrong, your thoughts can be accurate or inaccurate. By keeping your thinking as rational, reasoned, and accurate as possible, you can minimize or reduce emotional discomfort and negative feelings. When your beliefs about yourself and about others are accurate, they create a useful roadmap of your inner life, as well as the social world. With a good map, you know where you are and where you're going, especially with other people. In contrast, when your thoughts are not accurate, your ability to understand yourself and others is impaired, just as your sense of direction and geographical bearing is thrown off by an inaccurate roadmap. Of course, it is the excessiveness of people-pleasing that makes it problematic. When you are capable of being selective and moderate in your attempts to make others happy, you will be on your way to curing the disease to please. By replacing always and never with more moderate language such as most of the time, sometimes, or rarely in your people-pleasing thoughts, you will alleviate much of the stress and pressure you now feel from trying to meet such exaggerated time requirements. Finally, the 7 deadly shoulds contain conditional clauses that link your expectations about how others should treat you to obligations you believe have been created by your people-pleasing efforts on their behalf. These conditional rules reveal a sense of entitlement and even an underlying sense of manipulation on your part. Imagine, for example, how another person will respond if you were to instruct them directly. "You have to like me because all the nice things I do for you." The coercive quality of your rules becomes evident when you speak them out loud. Unless other people have explicitly agreed to like you or treat you in a positive manner in exchange for your pleasing them, your conditions are one-sided and probably destined to fail. destined to fail. What the hell is English? It might be pleasant to have other people like and appreciate you, but they have no built-in requirement to do so, no matter how nice you have been to them. Holding on to conditional beliefs about how people should behave toward you because of all of you do for them will only set you up to feel disappointment, anger, and resentment to people in particular, as well as disillusionment about others in general. Further, conditional thinking is a trap that will ensnare you in self-blame and recrimination. If you stick with the false logic that others will be good to you only if you do enough to please them, then you are left with thinking you have only yourself to blame when others let you down. Voices from the past. When you hear the commanding should in your thoughts or self-talk, you are hearing the voice of your judging conscience. That voice is the amalgamation of your parents, teachers, older siblings, coaches, or other authoritarian figures that at various points in your life laid down rules that have stayed with you throughout your life. As a people-pleasing adult, your conscience still orients you to the expectations of others. By your demonstrated willingness to put others' needs before your own, you continue to accord other people a position of authority over you, even though you may be taking care of others in what often feels like a parental capacity and meeting your adult obligations and responsibilities. Your conscience still treats you like an obedient or disobedient child. When you conform to your demanding should rules, your conscience gives you a figurative pat on the back, but when you fall short of following them, your conscience is self-reproaching and generates guilt. As a people pleaser, your conscience is doubly punishing, since you measure your performance according to a standard of whether others are pleased with you, and not just whether you are pleased with yourself. Your guilt is further compounded by feelings of shame. While guilt results when you disappoint yourself, shame occurs when you believe that others feel disappointed with and by you. Although as a people pleaser you abhor both giving and receiving criticism from others, you can be brutal when the attack is self-directed, typically in addition to more shoulds and shouldn'ts. I should have done more, I shouldn't be angry or resentful, etc. Your self-critical monologues are likely laden with other depression-producing language and distorted thoughts. You may use labels such as selfish, self-centered, and unlovable, or more primitively, jerk, stupid, or dumb, to berate and insult yourself. And like a telescopic mental trick, you will tend to magnify or exaggerate the scale of your own judged inadequacies and shortcomings while you minimize the magnitude of misdeeds or faults in others. People-pleasing perfectionism. People with the disease to please are rarely, if ever, truly pleased and satisfied with themselves. As a people pleaser, you want and need everyone's approval, yet withhold approval from yourself. Each new day, you strive yet again to prove your value through all the things you do to please others. Apparently, there are no reservoirs of good deeds in your psychological economy, whatever worth you may have earned in days or years passed by the myriad of your nice and giving actions. You respond today as though your value is perpetually in question, tested anew with each fresh request or expression of need that you must rise to meet. It's as if you start each day with nothing in the bank. What spurs the constant striving to please others is a pervasive sense of inadequacy, composed of nagging doubt and the chronic suspicions that you have not done quite enough, tried hard enough, given enough, or said yes enough to have truly satisfied others. But this disquieting sense of inadequacy does not come from a shortfall of effort or ability to please on your part. Its true source lies in the hidden perfectionism lurking between the lines of your should rules. Remember the 11th postscript commandment. I should fulfill these should and shouldn't expectations of myself completely and perfectly. The perfectionist standards to which you hold yourself are measured at two levels. Man, my throat is getting dry. First, you require yourself to please everyone. all the time. Second, you demand that you maintain a positive emotional temperament at all times. Thus, you are to exude a happy and upbeat demeanor even while you exhaust and deplete yourself pleasing others and denying your own needs. If your mood should inadvertently slip, you are never to show your negative feelings to others. Holding yourself to perfectionist standards like these is nothing short of self-imposed emotional cruelty. If that sounds too dramatic or extreme, imagine a mother instructing her child to meet such requirements. You must always please me, says the woman sternly to the young child. You are to fulfill each and every request or order I issue, no matter what you are doing or how you feel, and you must smile and be happy all the time. If I ever hear you complain or show any signs of an emotion other than happiness, you will be punished. If you fail to do these things perfectly, I will not love you anymore. Any questions? This sounds like the deranged dialogue of the mean stepmother character in a fairy tale. Alternatively, in darker real-life terms, the speaker might be a narcissist, mommy dearest, subjecting her child to emotional and psychological abuse. While admittedly, your self-talk may not be quite stark at this imaginary mother, the perfectionist expectations and evaluative standards that you apply to yourself are directly comparable. There is nothing inherently wrong or unhealthy about setting high standards in various arenas of life. However, striving for perfection has a demoralizing and guaranteed formula for failure. Striving for excellence, on the other hand, is motivating because reaching it is attainable. Attitude adjustment. The sabotaging shoulds of people-pleasing. Concentrate on the corrections below for countering your sabotaging shoulds. As you do so, keep in mind Albert Ellis's advice to stop shoulding on yourself and others and avoid masturbating as much as possible. That's funny. Whenever your thinking is contaminated by shoulds, musts, oughts, and have-tos, it is rigid, inflexible, and extreme. Rational thinking that will serve you better is flexible, moderate, and balanced. Imposing your shoulds on others is coercive and controlling. Instead, try using phrases such as, I would prefer if, or it might be better if, or I would like it if you, instead of the manipulative or coercive you should and you shouldn't statements. The 10 Commandments of people-pleasing and the 7 deadly shoulds are rigid rules that are nearly impossible to fulfill and will not make you happy. You will be far better off with more attainable, realistic guidelines and principles about how you would like to treat others and how you would prefer others to treat you. You don't have to do anything perfectly, including pleasing others or having perfectly positive emotions. Striving for perfection is demoralizing. Striving for excellence is motivating. Chapter 3. It's okay to not be nice. If the personality of a people pleaser had to be summed up in one word, that word would be nice. But if you have the disease to please, nice isn't just a personality description. Being nice is shorthand for a full-blown belief system that dictates how to act with other people so that bad things won't happen to you. Unfortunately, though, the formula doesn't always work. Bad things happen to nice people all the time, as you probably already know. While they may not deserve it, nice people are sometimes rejected, abandoned, disdained, disliked, or hurt by others. And nice people also are frequently beset by seemingly self-imposed emotional burdens such as worry, anxiety, depression, and even panic attacks. Carolyn was 9 when her mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. She recalls clearly the conversation she had with her father and with her mother's doctor about the importance of keeping her mother happy and unstressed in order for her to recover. Terrified that her mother would die, she believed that her mother's survival depended on Carolyn's being a good and nice little girl. A few weeks prior to the discovery of the lump in her mother's breast, Carolyn had been seriously reprimanded by her teacher for teasing and making fun of a disabled child on the school playground. The teacher wrote a stern letter to Carolyn's parents recounting the incident and requesting that her parents come to school for a conference about their daughter's behavior. When Carolyn's parents received the letter, they were extremely upset with their daughter. "We have tried to teach you to be a good person, to be nice to everyone," her mother said tearfully. "Now I find out that you were downright cruel and mean to that sweet little girl in the wheelchair. Your father and I are ashamed of you," she concluded. As a punishment, Carolyn was required to give up playing outside for a week and to stay in her room in order to think about how much she had hurt that little girl's feelings by not being nice. Carolyn's parents also instructed her to write 3 letters of apology, one to the disabled child, one to the child's parents, and a third to her own parents for disappointing them so deeply. Damn. In her letters, Carolyn stated that she was sorry and ashamed about not being nice and for hurting the other girl's feelings. She vowed to her own parents that she would never be mean or unkind to anyone again. Carolyn recalls feeling extremely guilty and remorseful. In her young mind, Carolyn believed that she was directly to blame for her mother's illness because of how upsetting the playground incident had been to both her parents. After all, hadn't the doctor said that her mother needed to stay calm and happy in order to fully recover? Carolyn reasoned that if no stress could help cure her mother, then causing her to become so stressed and upset must have made her mother get sick initially. During the months of her mother's illness, Carolyn vowed in her daily prayers that she would always be a nice girl if only her mother would survive. She promised herself that she would never again be mean or tease anyone, including her younger brother, if only her mom wouldn't die. Happily, Carolyn's mother did survive, but Carolyn became a world-class people-pleaser. Even as an adult, Carolyn continued to believe that by being nice, she could prevent bad things from happening. Conversely, she feared that dire consequences would ensure on those rare occasions when she would slip and say an unkind word or be otherwise short-tempered with her family, friends, or employees. Though Carolyn's reactions are somewhat extreme, virtually every people-pleaser holds tenaciously to the self-concept of being a nice person. Despite what other people may say or do to people-pleasers, their essential niceness prohibits them from saying negative things in response. Often the nice people-pleaser cannot even acknowledge having negative thoughts or feelings towards others. Oof, my neck. But there is a substantial price to being nice, which you should no longer be willing to pay. When you can endorse this seemingly simple statement, "It's okay to not be nice," you will have made giant inroads on curing your own disease to please problems. First, though, the quiz below will help you assess the degree to which your current thinking contains a commitment to being nice. What is your nice Q quiz? Read each statement and decide whether or not it applies to you. Circle T if the statement is true or mostly true, or circle F if it is false or mostly false. I pride myself on being a nice person. I don't know that answer. I feel like I'm in the middle. It is very difficult for me to reject another person no matter how much he or she may deserve it. I don't know. I probably go overboard in doing nice things for other people. Let me read these first and then I'll do this. It's much easier for me to acknowledge negative feelings about myself than to express negative feelings towards others. If something goes wrong, I often feel that I'm to blame. I believe that I should always be nice. I might do too much for others, be overly nice, or even let myself be used so that I won't be rejected for other reasons. I really believe that nice people get the approval, affection, and friendship of others. I don't think it's nice to express anger towards others. I shouldn't get angry or upset with the people I love. Those two I know for a fact are false for me. I'm afraid that I'm not nice to others. If I'm not nice to others, I will be ignored, rejected, or even punished. False. I believe that I should always be nice, even if it means allowing others to take advantage of my good nature. Nope. Being nice and doing things to please others is my way of protecting myself from rejection, disapproval, and abandonment. Yep. So, I pride myself on being a nice person. Yeah, I guess I do. It is very difficult for me to reject another person no matter how much she or he may deserve it. Reject? Not really. I probably go overboard in doing nice things for other people. I don't think so. It's much easier for me to acknowledge negative feelings about myself than to express negative feelings towards others. Yep. If something goes wrong, I often feel that I'm to blame. Yeah. I believe that I should always be nice. Nope. I might do too much for others, be overly nice, or even let myself be used so that I won't be rejected for other reasons. No. I really believe that nice people get the approval, affection, and friendship of others. No. I don't believe that. I wouldn't think of myself as a nice person if I criticized other people, even if they deserved it. No. I try to make other people like me by being a nice person. Yeah. Sometimes I feel like I need to buy the love and friendship of others by doing nice things to please them. Yeah. Often being nice prevents me from expressing negative feelings towards others. Yeah. I believe that others would describe me as being polite, pleasing, and agreeable. Yeah. I think my friends should like me because of all the things I do for them. Yeah. I want everyone to think of me as a nice person. Yeah, I guess. How to score and interpret your answers. Add up the number of times you circled T to obtain your total score. So mine was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 fucking dimes. If your score is between 8 and 13, your people-pleasing problems are strongly associated with your excessive need to be nice to others, too often at the expense of being good to yourself. Letting go of your nice self concept will speed the rate of your recovery. That's where I'm at. If you scored higher from 14 and 20, you are nice to a fault. It is likely that your interpersonal relationships, as well as your emotional health, actually are negatively affected by your good intentions. You are paying far too high a price for being nice. When you replace nice at the core of your self-concept with less self-defeating traits, the rate of your recovery will speed up. Damn, I scored kind of high. Okay, if your score is between 5 and 7, you still have a concern with being viewed as nice by others, though somewhat less so than the most people pleasers. Build on your strengths, but remember that being nice isn't one of them. You are still close to dangerous psychological territory and should monitor your tendencies to be nice at your own expense. If your score is between 0 and 4, you have an unusually low concern with being nice for someone with a disease to please. Check to be sure you are not falling into the trap of denial, but if you're really overcome your need to be nice at your own expense, then you've already traveled some notable distance on the path to recovery. Build on your own strengths. Pleasing equals nice. So I'm going to stop there. If you guys would like me to read more of that book or any of the books I've read in the past, just comment down below. So, yeah, bye.